Welcome back to the show. Happy Valentine's Day. I know that when this episode airs, it's officially Valentine's Day, which I don't know if you love Valentine's Day or, it's not your favorite, but over here in the Hughes household, I have been doing this thing for my husband, and I've been doing it for the last couple years. It's kind of a funny story how it all got started, but essentially, for 14 days, I put a little note and a little gift in this little red mailbox that I got from Target every single day for 14 days leading up to Valentine's Day, and he just loves it. And I've talked a little bit about it on social media, but essentially how that whole thing got started was because a couple Valentine's days ago, we had a Valentine's Day debacle where my husband and I agreed that we were not going to get each other anything for Valentine's Day. And of course, when the holiday turned up, I was ready with a card and he had nothing. And then, I was like, oh, I know we said we weren't going to get each other anything, but you could have at least gotten me a card. And he was like, when you say nothing, that means nothing. And I was like, well, I didn't really mean nothing. How many women right now can relate to this? And so that night he went out and bought me all this stuff, which I was like, this is now feels like a waste of money because this didn't come from your heart. This came because you misunderstood the assignment / I miscommunicated. It was just a thing. It was a thing. And so for the last couple of years, I've done this thing where every day I put a little note and a little gift in this little red mailbox, and he just loves it. And the reason why I'm talking about this today, and the reason why this is relevant to growing your personal brand and using video content on social media, all the things that I like to talk about, is just the power and the importance of helping people feel seen. And that's what I want to talk about today, because I had an experience recently that really showed me how important it is that people feel seen, heard, and validated. And I sent an email out to my email list, kind of sharing some about this, but I can't stop thinking about it. So I want to do a podcast episode talking about it because I think it's so powerful, the fact that we have the ability to create content that actually helps people feel seen. And I think a lot of people, when they think about showing up on video, showing up online, immediately we think about ourselves. How do we look? How are we coming across? What do we sound like? What do people think about us? And I've talked about this a little bit, well, hopefully a lot. Hopefully you get this from the show, but it's really about helping others feel seen. And when you can create content that helps other people feel seen, heard, and validated, that is when A, you stop caring so much about what you look like. B, you start creating content that really resonates with people, and you build a tribe and a community rather than just an audience. And C, you really start to build your personal brand. So these are some of the things I want to talk about today, about the importance of making other people feel seen. And it's just so perfect because it's Valentine's Day, And so I want to share this with you because not only can you help people feel seen on social media, you can help people feel seen in your everyday life. So we'll do the second part after talking about in your everyday life, and I'll share with you some of the stuff I've been doing at home with my husband with Valentine's Day and some of the things that I've gotten him just to have a good laugh. But I want to talk about why your personal brand is about helping other people feel seen. And so if you are struggling with just feeling cringy showing up on video, if you're struggling with how can you make this actually work for you, for your business, how can you show up more confident, and how can you find strategy in social media and what you're doing, and really this was a big thing for me, basically having the empowerment to know that me showing up on video and even saying hey, helping other people grow their influence didn't feel like it was self-centered, right? Because as Christians, if we feel like it's going against our values, if it's going against our integrity, if we feel like it's going against God, it is not we are not going to be able to show up with the confidence, the courage, the boldness that we're meant to because we're feeling internally this conflict. And I don't know if anyone listening has struggled with that. I personally struggled with that, being like, why is God wanting me to show up on video where I feel like people are going to think it's all about me? I was caring a lot about what people thought. People are going to think it's all about me, when really, like, I just feel like God's calling me to do this, but I can't make it make sense in my spirit, and I can't make it make sense. And it really hasn't been until the last several months that I've been like, wow, you know, my content, our content, what we create is about other people. And so I went out for breakfast. I want to share this story with you because I feel like it might make sense. But I went out for breakfast with my birthday twin. Yeah. We share the same birthday and we do it every single year. We roomed together when I was in college, and she's just wonderful. We're very different. But how many of you know that sometimes the people that you're meant to have in your life are meant to be so different from you and how they think, because they add to you and fill your gaps. And so she's a type of friend for me that has always been like that, and I appreciate that about her so much. And as we're sitting and chatting, I'm just starting to open up to her and talk to her about things that are going on in my life, good things, scary things, challenging things. And as I'm talking to her, I just found for a minute that she didn't feel it necessary to talk a lot back. And she really just listened to me. And as she's listening to me, I started to just like fill up. I started to cry. And she started like just truly listening and repeating back to me some of the things that I was saying. And I was like, yeah, I do feel that way. I felt so seen, so heard, and so loved by her listening to me. And I was like, wow, this is what it feels like for people to feel validated by things that they share. And so I want you, so I started thinking about this with content. I want you to think about your audience, the people that you're serving, the people that you're wanting to show up for. Because when you're first starting out, so much of it is about, how can I get clients? How can I grow my business? How can I make an impact? And I want you to just take a step back right now, and I want you to really think about the people that you're really wanting to help, the people that you're really wanting to show up for, the people that you're really wanting to make an impact for, and be like, man, how can I help them to feel seen? How can I help elevate their story? How can I help them to look at my content and be like, wow, she gets me. She knows what I go through. She knows what I struggle with. She knows my challenges. And like just the importance of helping your people feel seen, helping your people feel loved, helping your people feel validated. And that really does, a lot of times we're really serving our past self. That's that's the truth of it. A lot of times, this isn't true for everybody, but I do find for a lot of my clients, they're realizing that they're serving an older version of their self. So go back and think about, like, what were you struggling with? And I see a lot on social media, people are creating content that just truly looks like everybody else. Really. They're creating content that looks like everybody else, that sounds like everybody else. And I'm sitting here, and I'm probably guilty of this, but I'm sitting here thinking like, man, are we creating content that we think we should create, that might get us more views, that might get us more clients, that maybe the gurus are telling us to make? Or are we really creating content and showing up for people because we've thought about them, because we've listened to them, because we've helped try to make their story heard? And so that is the purpose of content. That is the purpose of why you show up, is to help other people feel seen, heard, and loved. For you, now this, I said this in the email, for you, you're going to help other people feel seen, heard, and loved when you yourself feel seen, heard, and loved. And the route that you get that from is from God, right? You have to, you don't have to, I hate saying that in relationship to our relationship with God. You don't have to do anything, But the way that you end up feeling like your story is heard, like you're seen, is by having honest conversation with the Lord. It's so important that you know that you are seen, heard, and loved first in order to help others. Because if you don't get it from God first, then you will be showing up hoping that the spotlight fixes something internally broken for you. And it won't do that. In fact, the spotlight will probably only highlight those broken areas, and it will be seen by other people. But if you can feel so loved, so secure, so seen by God first, you will not feel the need to try to chase views, to try to chase likes, to try to chase the applause of other people. You can really truly get that from God and show up to be like, okay, what can I create today that's going to help someone else's story feel seen? What can I create today that's going to help somebody else be like, man, I needed that? What can I create today that's going to help my brand showcase the fact that somebody else has a problem and I know what that is, and I can help solve that for them? You really start to be a mover and a shaker, and that is the difference in what I teach and in growing a kingdom personal brand. Is it's really truly not about you. It's really truly about, okay, who are we serving? I know I've been listening to my clients. I know I've been listening to their struggles. I know I've been listening to their pain points. What can I create today that's gonna be a solution for what they're going through? It's about helping other people feel heard and seen. And I want to kind of put this into like an even more granular perspective for you. But have you been on social media? Let's just like think about this for yourself. Have you been on social media and seen a piece of content that you're like, "Oh my gosh, they get me. Oh my gosh, like this person is my person." Have you had that experience? Because, I'm really feeling this going into 2024, that the content that we create isn't going to be so much about being the expert, giving the one, two, three, giving the how-tos. It's really going to be more about, how can I relate to you? How can I show you that I understand? How can I show you that like you're not alone? Like if I can even I really wanted to open up this podcast today and say I had to restart this 3 times because I didn't like how I was introing my podcast. Right? I had to show up and be like, "Hey guys, welcome to," no, not like that. "Hey guys, it's," no, okay, no. And by the 3rd time, I finally went with it, and it's just like, okay, you know what? We're just going to open up the show. But like, how many of you have a podcast or go to show up on video and you feel like you have to do that? It helps you to be like, okay, Melissa does it too. Okay, it's a part of the process. Okay, it's a part of the journey. Um, really showing that you can relate to your audience, that you don't have it all figured out, but you get their struggles, you get their problems. It can even be down to this, I think is really, really interesting, but I've been thinking about this a lot. I did a video or a story where I had some soup for lunch and I didn't want to grab a plate, okay? I just grabbed a piece of bread and I put it on my planner on my desk, and that was where my bread that I'm dipping into my soup sat. That's where it sat. And it sounds silly, but I was like, I'm just going to share this. Be like, yeah, I'm a mom and I don't want to have to wash another dish. And so rather than grabbing another side plate, I'm just going to put the piece of bread on my planner and eat my soup that way. And I had people respond, be like, oh my gosh, I do that too. And I got more engagement from that dumb story on Instagram than, creating something where I'm like, look at this. This is so awesome. This is so amazing. It's really people just want to feel seen. People just want to feel heard. People just want to feel like they're not alone. And I wanted to share this with you, this podcast, where I really just want you to think about how can you help people to feel seen? And I also ask you, do you genuinely feel like you're showing up to A, be seen, or B, help others feel seen? And have that honest conversation with God. Because if you're like, man, no, I feel like I'm hustling. I feel like even this, like some people, some of my clients have really never felt like when they speak up, they feel listened to. They don't. And so showing up on social media is a lot about, I just want to fit in. I just want to feel seen. I just want to get my voice heard. It's not going to work. It's not going to work, especially because you're always going to be tied to the results of your content. You're always going to be tied to the opinions of other people. You're always going to be tied to the outcome. And it's going to really hinder your voice and hold you back from actually serving people. And so, how can you make your content more about other people rather than about you feeling seen and heard? How can you help other people feel seen and heard? And that's really about listening. It's about creating content that resonates with people. It's about really, truly being more vulnerable in your content. And I struggle with this. I struggle with trying to figure out, how can I be more vulnerable? How can I be more quote unquote authentic? How can I relate to people more rather than being the expert? So and I'm sharing those struggles with you because this is something I'm trying to venture into, but I think it's about just being honest about what you're thinking, what you're going through, what you're struggling with. I really try to do that on this podcast. More so than in my content, because it's easier. I feel like my people over in my podcast land, you get to know me a little bit more than just the short clips on social media. But truly, create content that helps other people feel seen. Because guys, it's Valentine's Day, and I want to just share really quickly about the importance of doing this in your home. Because if you're not helping your people in your home feel seen, or really, if you're helping the people online feel more seen than the people in your home, then man, we got our priorities mixed up. And I try to be very mindful of this. Like, if I'm on my phone more than engaging with my children, if I'm focused more on helping my audience feel seen rather than my husband, man, that is messed up. So, very practically, here are some things that I'm doing, and maybe you can do these today too for Valentine's Day, okay? And then also every other day of your life. But think about the things that your people love. Ask them. Say, hey, what would fill your bucket today, right? Notice the things that they like and get it for them. My husband loves when I come home with a little special treat, or my kids love when they come home with a little special treat. Here's another thing. When someone's talking to you, look them in the eye. Give them your full attention with like your shoulders and everything, like face them square on and listen, right? Say back to them what they've just said to you. And then also, this is something I'm learning, validate. Man, I get why you would feel that way. Whether it's right or wrong, man, I get why you would feel that way. I understand. Man, that's what people want, to just feel understood. And then here's the other thing that you could do to help somebody feel loved is literally tell them straight up. How often are we, especially as women, doing things, but sometimes with our words, we don't always say, hey, especially I'm thinking about my husband, hey, you're a really good dad. Or I really appreciate how you played with the kids this afternoon. You did a really good job showing up today. And I just want to say thank you and I love you. You're my hero. Saying to your children, I say this to my kids all the time, there's nothing you could ever do to change the way mommy feels about you because you're mine and I love you, right? So tell them, show them, tell them, help people feel seen. Listen to them and really validate who they are, what they're trying to do, and show up more to help others feel seen than for you to try to fight your way to feel seen, heard, and loved. Get that from your relationship with God first. And if you're struggling to do that, let me know so I can create an episode about that. How in your relationship with God do you feel seen, heard, and loved? Because maybe you're struggling personally in that area and you're like, no, I feel like when I talk to God, I feel air. When I talk to God, I don't feel like he hears me. When I talk to God, I don't feel like he listens to me. Truly. And also tell God that. Tell God that. Tell him he's big enough to take you on. Okay? So, the last thing that I want to say is, guys, I'm super excited. I had this thing happen where I got connected to this spa by my house that I absolutely love. And I'm thinking of hosting an in-person content creation retreat there. So if that's something that you're like, oh my gosh, I would love a retreat with a bunch of women where we all stay in an Airbnb and we create content together. We have a spa day together and you learn about how to grow your personal brand with content and with video. Then, hey, tell me. Be like, Melissa, I would love that. And tell me things that you would love included. If you've been on retreats before, tell me what you liked about them and what you didn't. I want to know because I'd love to create something that you're excited about. If you're not excited, I'm not excited. And also, equally, if I'm not excited, why should you be excited? But I am excited and God's excited about you. So thank you guys so much. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Send me an email back. I love it when you guys interact and tell me. It just means so much and helps me to know that I'm showing up for somebody on the other side of your earbuds. All right, tune in next week for another great episode and see you then.